Hello everybody, it's me again, Andy Stanton. I know that everything is very upside down right now and things are weird and we are all sort of cooped up in our houses and our flats and stuff, and I thought I'd read you another story to help pass the time and entertain you all, and also to stop you from driving your parents or whoever's looking after you crazy. So maybe we'll do that. I wrote a story a few years ago called The Story of Matthew Buzzington, and that's what I'd like to read you today. And I wrote this for a really brilliant publisher called Barrington Stoke, who they publish amazing stories, particularly aimed at kids and young folks who might not find it so easy to read. They might have find reading not as easy as other people for whatever reason. So they are a super special publisher. They asked me to write a story, and I said yes, please. I wrote this book called The Story of Matthew Buzzington, and it's illustrated by the brilliant Ross Collins, so I'll be holding up these lovely drawings and you can all look at those. And also, I'd like, when I read this out, for you not to comment on the massive spot on my nose, please. That's a bit rude of you to even bring that up, actually. Just try and ignore the spot. Okay, thank you. Right, here we go. So, The Story of Matthew Buzzington. Shall we find out how that goes then? I think we should. The Story of Matthew Buzzington, written by me, Andy Stanton, illustrated by Ross Collins. Hi Ross, if you're watching. Here we go. Chapter 1. Who on earth is Matthew Buzzington? Hello everyone, and welcome to the story of Matthew Buzzington. This story is all about Matthew Buzzington. It is full of Matthew Buzzington. It is packed with Matthew Buzzington. It is brimming over with Matthew Buzzington. And that is why it is called The Story of Matthew Buzzington. But I know what you are saying to yourself right now. You are saying, who on earth is Matthew Buzzington? Is he a pop star with spiky hair and shiny trousers? No, Matthew Buzzington is not a pop star. You are saying, who on earth is Matthew Buzzington? Is he a famous footballer who is always on TV scoring goals? No, Matthew Buzzington is not a footballer. You are saying, who on earth is Matthew Buzzington? Is he a secret agent with a gun in his pocket and a helicopter hidden in his case? No, Matthew Buzzington is not a secret agent. Well, who on earth is he then? You are saying. Tell me before I go so crazy I eat my own hair. Well, there's no need to go crazy or eat your own hair, because I will tell you. In fact, Matthew Buzzington was a normal 10-year-old boy. He had curly brown hair, a friendly face, and 3 freckles on his left cheek. Yes, he was just a normal 10-year-old boy, except for one thing. You see, Matthew Buzzington had a special superpower. Matthew Buzzington could turn into a fly. Just think of that. A 10-year-old boy turning into a tiny little housefly. Isn't that amazing? There was only one problem with Matthew Buzzington's special superpower. It didn't work. He had spent hours in front of the mirror trying to turn into a fly. He had spent days in the park trying to turn into a fly. He had spent a whole weekend reading a book called How to Turn Yourself into a Fly. But he still hadn't managed to turn into a fly. I know I'm special, Matthew Buzzington told himself every night before he went to sleep. And one of these days, I am going to prove it. One of these days, I am going to turn into a fly. Chapter 2. Off to the big city. One afternoon, Matthew Buzzington was watching TV with his little sister. His little sister was called Amanda. Is there a picture of her? Yeah, coming up in a bit. Matthew Buzzington and Amanda were lying in front of the TV looking at a cartoon about a dancing penguin. Elephant, said Amanda. She was only 4 years old. No, said Matthew Buzzington. No, Amanda, that is a penguin. Elephant, said Amanda. No, said Matthew Buzzington again. Penguin. Elephant, said Amanda. Just then, their parents came into the room. Guess what, kids, said Mum. We've got something to tell you. It's great news, smiled Dad. Uh-oh, thought Matthew Buzzington. You see, he had spotted something. When grown-ups say they have great news, it almost always means the news is only great for them. It almost always means trouble for everyone else. There you go. There's Matthew Buzzington and Amanda watching the penguin, and look, their parents have just come in with great news. Yes. It always means the trouble for everyone else. And sure enough, it was trouble. "I've been given a job in the big city," said Dad. "We will have to move there right away." "I don't want to move to the big city," said Matthew Buzzington. "I want to stay in this nice little town with all my friends." "You'll soon make new friends in the big city," said Mum. "And this new job means we'll have lots more money," said Dad. "We can buy a swimming pool." "I don't want a swimming pool," said Matthew Buzzington. "We can eat in fancy restaurants every night," said Mum. "Well, I hate fancy restaurants," said Matthew Buzzington. "I can never read the menus because they're always in joined up writing." "No more talk," said Dad. "We are leaving for the big city in 2 hours, so get packing." And his mum and Dad went off to pack their bags. Once they had gone from the room, Matthew Buzzington made a sulky face. "It's not fair," he said. "They are always telling me what to do. But I am going to teach them a lesson," he told his little sister Amanda. "Elephant!" said Amanda, clapping her hands. "Yes, I am going to teach them a lesson," said Matthew Buzzington. "I am going to turn into a fly. Then I am going to fly out of the window. Mum and Dad will look all over, but they will never find me. Then they'll be sorry." And so Matthew Buzzington stood there in the middle of the sitting room, and he closed his eyes. And he said, "Buzz, buzz, buzz. My, oh my. I'm going to turn myself into a fly." But nothing happened. When he opened his eyes again, he was still Matthew Buzzington. He wasn't a fly at all. "Matthew," called his mum from the other room, "what's that nonsense about turning into a fly? Stop that and start packing." 2 hours later, the whole family was sitting in the car. Mum and Dad were in the front because that's where the grown-ups go. Matthew Buzzington and Amanda were in the back because that's where the kids go. They were squashed in with all the bags and cases. It's just not fair, is it? "Cough, cough, splat." Dad started up the car. Soon they were driving on the busy motorway, driving away from the little town. The Buzzington family was on its way to the big city. "What an adventure," said Mum. "My new job will make us rich," said Dad. "Elephant," said Amanda, who was fast asleep. Matthew Buzzington looked out of the back window. He saw the little town growing smaller and smaller in the distance. In the end, he couldn't see it at all. "I liked our little house in the little town," said Matthew Buzzington. "This is the worst day of my whole life." There you go, he's not looking very happy. Chapter 3. Pineapple Johnson. Matthew Buzzington hated life in the big city. He hated the noise of the cars outside his bedroom window. How could anyone sleep at night with so much noise? It was like trying to sleep inside a pinball machine. He hated the crowds of people. The people were so mean. They bumped and thumped into him on the street, and they looked right through him as if he wasn't even there. He hated how there were hardly any trees. In Matthew Buzzington's old town, there were lots of trees. But in the big city, there was only one tree, and even that was made out of concrete, and it was covered in bird mess and rude drawings. Yes, Matthew Buzzington hated lots of things about the big city, but out of all the things he hated, there was one thing he hated most of all. It was his new school. And why did he hate it so much? Because of Pineapple Johnson. On his first day at the new school, a big, mean-looking kid came up to Matthew Buzzington in the playground. "Hello, new boy," said the mean-looking kid. He had really short hair and really big muscles bulging in his arms. "I am Pineapple Johnson," said the mean-looking kid. "Do you know why they call me that?" "No," said Matthew Buzzington. "It is because I once threw a pineapple at a teacher," said Pineapple Johnson. "And do you know where that teacher is now?" "No," said Matthew Buzzington again. "He's in the hospital," said Pineapple Johnson. "I threw the pineapple so hard that it broke his nose." "Oh dear," said Matthew Buzzington. "What can you do to impress me, new boy?" said Pineapple Johnson suddenly. "What do you mean?" asked Matthew Buzzington. Everyone who comes to this school must do something to impress me, said Pineapple Johnson. If you can impress me, then I will leave you alone forever. Can you sing? Said Pineapple Johnson. No, said Matthew Buzzington. I am rubbish at singing. Do you know any good jokes? Said Pineapple Johnson. No, said Matthew Buzzington. I can never remember jokes. Well, what can you do? Said Pineapple Johnson. I can turn into a fly, said Matthew Buzzington. Will that impress you? Yes, it will, said Pineapple Johnson, leaning over him with his big mean face. If you really can turn into a fly, then I will leave you alone forever. But if you are lying to me, I will make your life very miserable. I will tease you and make fun of you every day. And he grinned at Matthew Buzzington, but it wasn't a very nice grin. It was the sort of grin a shark might give a goldfish. So Matthew Buzzington stood there in the playground with everyone watching. He closed his eyes. And he said, Buzz, buzz, buzz. My, oh my. I'm going to turn myself into a fly! But nothing happened. There he is. Pineapple Johnson. He's a horror. Nothing happened. When he opened his eyes again, he was still Matthew Buzzington. He wasn't a fly at all. Pathetic, said Pineapple Johnson. What is your name, new boy? Matthew Buzzington, said Matthew Buzzington. He could feel all the other kids watching him. He could hear them all whispering. The other kids were scared of Pineapple Johnson. They knew Matthew Buzzington was in for a bad time. Well, Matthew Buzzington, said Pineapple Johnson, I'm going to make your life miserable, just like I promised. And then Pineapple Johnson took something out from the pocket of his leather jacket. See this, he said. This is a pineapple seed. Pineapple Johnson planted the pineapple seed right in the middle of the playground. Every day, this seed will grow a little bit bigger, said Pineapple Johnson. It will grow into a pineapple. A great big one with spikes all over it. And when it is grown, I will pull it out of the ground, said Pineapple Johnson, and I will throw it at your head as hard as I can, Matthew Buzzington, and then, splat! You will have to go to hospital. And that is why, out of all the things in the big city, Matthew Buzzington hated Pineapple Johnson most of all. Chapter 4. Teasing. Have you ever been teased? It is not a nice feeling. In fact, it is just about the worst feeling you can imagine. Being teased gives you a horrible feeling in your tummy. It is such a heavy feeling. It feels like someone has put a bowling ball inside your tummy. If you are being teased, you walk around with your head down low. You pretend you are looking for something you dropped on the ground. But really, you are just hoping that people will forget about you and stop teasing you all the time. That was what it was like for Matthew Buzzington in his new school. Every day Pineapple Johnson teased him. It was awful. He called Matthew Buzzington horrible names. He made buzzing sounds like a fly whenever Matthew Buzzington walked by. He said things so mean that Matthew Buzzington wanted to hide away in a deep, dark hole. Look, it's Buzzington, said Pineapple Johnson every morning at the start of school. He thinks he's a fly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Hey, Buzz, said Pineapple Johnson when they were doing PE. Why aren't you climbing up the climbing frame? Why don't you just fly up instead? Why are you eating that hamburger? Said Pineapple Johnson at lunchtime. Wouldn't you rather eat dog poo like a real fly? Loser. Fly boy. Insect face. Pineapple Johnson teased Matthew Buzzington every day. Loser. insect face, fly boy, stupid wings, buzz, 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 buzz. Ah. Matthew Buzzington hated being teased. He felt like someone had put a bowling ball inside his tummy. He walked around with his head down low. He hoped everyone would forget about him, but they never did. He wished the teachers would see what was going on and stop the teasing, but they were all too busy to notice. Sometimes, when no one was looking, a single tear would fall from Matthew Buzzington's eye and splatter on his trainers. After a few weeks, his trainers were covered in tears. They were the saddest trainers you have ever seen. "I hate it here in the big city," said Matthew Buzzington one night as he lay in his bunk bed. Outside his window, the traffic was louder than ever. The cars were vrooming along. They sounded a bit like giant flies, buzzing, buzzing, buzzing through the dark night air. "Elephant!" said Amanda from the bottom bunk. "I really used to think that I could turn into a fly," said Matthew Buzzington as he lay there in his bunk bed. "I used to think that I was special, but now I'm not so sure." Amanda climbed up the bunk bed and stroked her brother's hair. "Elephant," she said kindly. "Thanks, Amanda, but it's no use," said Matthew Buzzington with a sigh. He turned out the light and he went to sleep, and he had a dream. In his dream, Matthew Buzzington was just about to turn into a fly. "I'm really going to do it this time," he said. "I'm really going to turn into a fly." But just before he could turn into a fly, a great big spiky pineapple came flying out of nowhere. "No!" cried Matthew Buzzington in his dream. Splat! Went the pineapple as it hit his head. "Ha ha ha!" laughed the voice of Pineapple Johnson. "You will never turn into a fly. You aren't special, Matthew Buzzington. You aren't special at all." Chapter 5. Matthew Buzzington gets into trouble. It was a rainy Friday afternoon near the end of term. Everyone was fed up. The kids were fed up of learning. The teachers were fed up of teaching. Fat Lenny, the school hamster, was fed up of chewing little bits of paper and straw. Everyone was fed up. The clock ticked slowly. Tick. Tock. Tick. Every minute seemed to last a whole hour. It seemed like home time would never come. Outside, the rain poured down. It beat against the windows. It watered the big spiky pineapple growing in the playground. Pineapple Johnson sat at the back of the class. Pineapple Johnson always sat at the back of the class. It was the best place to sit because the teacher couldn't see what he was up to. What was Pineapple Johnson up to? He was drawing something on a scrap of paper. He was laughing while he drew it. Laughed Pineapple Johnson. He finished his drawing and passed it to the kid next to him. The kid next to him giggled and passed it on to the next kid. She giggled too. Then the next kid. Then the next. Then the next. Last of all, someone passed the scrap of paper to Matthew Buzzington. Matthew Buzzington looked at the scrap of paper. He saw the drawing that Pineapple Johnson had done. It was a mean cartoon. The cartoon showed a little fly. The fly had the face of Matthew Buzzington. The fly was sitting on a dog poo. "Yummy," said Matthew Buzzington Fly. "Dog poo is my favourite food in the whole world." When Matthew Buzzington saw that cartoon, something snapped inside of him. He was fed up of being teased. He was fed up of Pineapple Johnson. He was fed up of it all. I'm fed up of you, Pineapple Johnson, shouted Matthew Buzzington. "Watch this. I am going to prove that I really can turn into a fly once and for all." Ah! Matthew Buzzington stood up. He stood there in the classroom. No one dared breathe. They were all watching to see what would happen. Matthew Buzzington closed his eyes and he said, "Buzz, buzz, buzz. My, oh my, I'm gonna turn myself into a fly." "This is it," thought Matthew Buzzington in excitement. "I can feel it. At last, I'm finally going to turn myself into a fly. He could feel his face change. It was going all hairy. Not as hairy as mine. It was going all hairy. He could feel little wings growing on his back. He was sure of it. He was sure. But no, it was all in his mind. When he opened his eyes again, he was still Matthew Buzzington. He wasn't a fly at all. And all the kids were laughing at him. One kid laughed so hard that a little bit of his sandwich from lunch came back up. "What's all this mucking around?" demanded the teacher. "I will not have any mucking around in my classroom." The teacher snatched up the scrap of paper with the cartoon on. "Who did this?" she yelled. "It was Pineapple Johnson," said Matthew Buzzington. "He's always teasing me." "Pineapple Johnson," said the teacher. "Come and see me in my office after school. I will punish you then." Then the teacher turned to Matthew Buzzington. "You come and see me after school as well," she said. "But why me?" said Matthew Buzzington. "Because you tell fibs, Matthew Buzzington," said the teacher. "You say you can turn into a fly, but you can't. You must be punished for telling silly fibs. Now sit back in your chair. I don't want to hear another word from you for the rest of the lesson." As Matthew Buzzington went to sit down, he saw that Pineapple Johnson was staring at him. Pineapple Johnson looked meaner than ever. "You got me into this mess," whispered Pineapple Johnson, "but never mind. I've got just the thing for you." Pineapple Johnson pointed out the window to the pineapple growing in the playground. "My pineapple is nearly ready," said Pineapple Johnson. "As soon as it's going to be coming right for your head, and then splat! You will be in the hospital." "Ha, ha, ha," laughed Pineapple Johnson. "Gulp, gulp, gulp," gulped Matthew Buzzington. Chapter 6. Locked in! After school that day, Matthew Buzzington went to the teacher's office. He had never been in trouble with the teacher before, but now he was in deep trouble. And so was Pineapple Johnson. Pineapple Johnson was already there. He was sitting on a chair outside the teacher's office, waiting for the teacher to call them inside. "Well, well, well," said Pineapple Johnson. "It's Buzzington. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Been chased by any spiders lately?" He laughed. "I am fed up of you," said Matthew Buzzington bravely. "I'm fed up of how mean you are. And besides..." "Elephant!" came a voice just then. "Eh?" said Pineapple Johnson. "What on earth are you talking about, you weirdo?" "It wasn't me," said Matthew Buzzington. "I'm not the one who said elephant." He looked down the corridor and saw his little sister, Amanda. "What are you doing here, Amanda?" said Matthew Buzzington. "You should be back home by now." "Elephant!" said Amanda. "What a pair of weirdos!" laughed Pineapple Johnson, making a rude face. "One of you thinks he can turn into a fly, and one of you can only say elephant." "Elephant!" said Amanda happily. At that moment, the clock on the wall struck 4 o'clock with a binging sound that made them all jump. "Bing, bing, bing, bing!" "That's strange," said Matthew Buzzington. "Where is the teacher? School finished half an hour ago. The teacher should be here by now." It was true, the teacher should have been there, but you know what? The teacher had forgotten all about punishing Matthew Buzzington and Pineapple Johnson. The teacher had gone home to eat her tea and watch a TV quiz show where you could win 1,000,000 yogurts. The quiz show was called Who Wants to Win 1,000,000 Yogurts? Yes, the teacher had gone home, and now it was starting to get dark outside. "We'd better leave before the caretaker locks the front door," said Matthew Buzzington. But just then he heard a terrible sound. It was the sound of a big brass key turning in a big brass lock. The caretaker was locking the front door. "Quick!" shouted Matthew Buzzington. "We've got to let the caretaker know we're locked in the school." Pineapple Johnson, Matthew Buzzington and Amanda raced down the corridor towards the front door, but they were too late. By the time they got to the door, the caretaker had vanished. He had gone home to watch Who Wants to Win 1,000,000 Yogurts? "There must be another way out," said Pineapple Johnson. "The school has lots of doors and windows." But all the doors they tried were locked, and all the windows too, every single one. "We're trapped in the school," said Matthew Buzzington. Suddenly, just to make things worse, all the lights went out. It was pitch black inside the school. "Wah!" cried a voice in the darkness. "Wah!" Matthew Buzzington thought that the crying was coming from Amanda. He turned around. There, said Matthew Buzzington kindly. "It's okay, Amanda." But Amanda was fine. She wasn't crying at all. She was playing with some fluff she'd found. The crying was coming from Pineapple Johnson. There's Amanda playing with some fluff. Sobbed Pineapple Johnson. I don't like it, I'm scared. You scared, said Matthew Buzzington in surprise. But you're so tough. You're the toughest boy in the school. But I don't like the dark, sobbed Pineapple Johnson, and I don't like being away from my mummy. Mummy! Mummy! Don't worry, Pineapple, said Matthew Buzzington. He reached out his hand in the darkness and gave Pineapple Johnson a pat on the back. We'll be all right. And after all, but just then, the children heard the sound of a window being smashed. Climb in, whispered a man's voice. Quick, before anyone sees us. You sure this place is empty? Said another voice. Yeah, of course it's empty, said the first voice. And it's a huge school. There'll be plenty of stuff to nick in here. Oh no, said Matthew Buzzington. Robbers have broken into the school. Dun, dun, dun. See what happens. Chapter 7. Big Robber and Little Robber. Clomp, clomp, clomp. The robber's heavy footsteps rang out through the dark school. Mummy! Sniffed Pineapple Johnson. Shut up, said Matthew Buzzington. We've got to hide. But there was nowhere to hide. They were trapped at the end of the long corridor. Clomp, clomp. Bash. Ouch! Yelled a voice in pain. I just bashed my shin on something. Well, turn on your torch, stupid, said another voice. The robber turned on his torch, and now the children could see the robbers walking down the corridor towards them. Oh, they really looked like robbers. They had broken noses and scars all over their faces. One of them was big and fat. He was wearing a jumper which said, Big Robber. The other robber was small and thin. He was wearing a jumper which said, Little Robber. Hang on a moment, said Big Robber. Where's medium-sized robber? Why isn't he helping us rob the school? Medium-sized robber couldn't make it tonight, said Little Robber. He's got an important table tennis match this evening. What, again? Said Big Robber. Medium-sized robbers always playing table tennis. I'm sick of it. Hang on, whispered Little Robber. What's this? Little Robber shone his torch right into the far corner of the corridor. They really do look like robbers, don't they? They really do. Little Robber shone his torch right into the far corner of the corridor. Hey, he yelled, it's a bunch of kids! What are you doing here? He growled. Are you spying on us? Is that what you're up to? No, said Matthew Buzzington, shaking with fright. We just got locked in by mistake, that's all. We weren't spying, I promise. What are your names, kids? Said Big Robber. Matthew Buzzington, said Matthew Buzzington. Elephant, said Amanda. Mummy, said Pineapple Johnson. Funny names for kids, said Big Robber, scratching his head. Never mind that now, said Little Robber. What are we going to do with them? What do you think we're going to do with them? We're going to lock them up so we can get on with robbing stuff, of course, said Big Robber. Big Robber flashed his torch on the big wooden door at the end of the corridor. Jim, said a sign on the door. Perfect, said the robbers together. They bundled the children into the gym. Then, slam, lock. That was that. The kids were locked inside the dark gym. Chapter 8. You can do it, Matthew Buzzington. It was cold inside the gym, and it smelt of damp socks and sweat. The kids could hear the robbers outside as they smashed down doors looking for stuff to steal. Look what I found, a DVD player, they heard Little Robber say. Brilliant, put it in the bag, said Big Robber. We'll soon be rich, and I'm not sharing any of it with medium-sized robber. Back in the gym, Matthew Buzzington was shaking his head. It's not fair, said Matthew Buzzington. It's just not fair at all. If only there was some way out of here. But there were no windows in the gym, and the robbers had locked the door. There's only one thing for it, said Matthew Buzzington. My chance has come at last. What do you mean? Said Pineapple Johnson. I'll have to turn into a fly, said Matthew Buzzington. Then I will fly through the keyhole. Once I'm on the other side of the door, I will unlock it and we can all escape. OK, said Pineapple Johnson. That sounds like a good plan. What? Said Matthew Buzzington. You're not going to make fun of me and call me Buzzington? No, said Pineapple Johnson. You've been really nice to me tonight. I'm sorry for all the times I teased you. If you say you can turn into a fly, I believe you can. Thank you, said Matthew Buzzington. No one has ever believed I could turn into a fly before. Matthew Buzzington stood in the middle of the gym and he closed his eyes and he thought about it really hard. Not just really hard, but really hard. Not just really hard, but really, really hard. Not just really, really hard, but really, 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 really hard. Buzz, 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 he said. My, oh my. I'm going to turn myself into a fly. And guess what? There was a flash of green light. There was a little popping noise, like a cork popping out of a bottle. And suddenly, Pineapple Johnson and Amanda saw Matthew Buzzington vanish. In his place, a tiny little fly. Matthew Buzzington had done it at last! And let's see that amazing moment captured in full black and white glory. That's what happens when you turn into a fly. Pop noise. Zzz. Chapter 9, The Battle of the Playground. Whee! The little fly did a loop-the-loop and went buzzing all over the gym in joy. Then, quick as a flash, it zoomed over to the keyhole and squeezed through. Bzz. As soon as it was outside, the fly turned back into Matthew Buzzington. Good move. Matthew Buzzington unlocked the door. He was just about to fling it open when the robbers ran around the corner, flashing their torches. Oi! Shouted Big Robber. How did you escape? Shouted Little Robber. Uh-oh, said Matthew Buzzington. Buzz, buzz, buzz. My, oh my, I'm going to turn myself into a fly. Now he got the hang of it. It was easy. There was another green flash and another little popping sound, which is good because it's fun doing that noise. And suddenly, Matthew Buzzington was a fly again. Huh? Where'd he go? Said the Big Robber. He turned himself into a fly, said Little Robber in amazement. After him! Together, the robbers chased the fly down the corridor, yelling and shouting as they ran. The fly looped and buzzed and flew around like mad, but the robbers were too fast. Big Robber took out a newspaper from his back pocket. He rolled it up. Smack! Big Robber smacked the fly with the newspaper. The fly tried to dodge, but the newspaper smashed against its wings. The fly's wings crumpled up. Bzzz, said the fly. It tumbled out of a broken window and landed in the playground. The robbers climbed out after it. Now we've got him, they laughed. Zzz, 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 said the Matthew Buzzington fly. It tried to fly away, but it was no use. Its wings were all crumpled. The fly tried to turn back into a boy, but that was no use either. It was too weak. All it could do was crawl along the playground through the rain and the puddles. Said the Matthew Buzzington fly. It could hear the robbers' voices high above, booming and loud. Squash him, Little Robber, said Big Robber. And then the Matthew Buzzington fly saw a big, dirty boot coming down from above. The boot came closer. Ha ha, laughed Little Robber. It's all over for you, my tiny friend. The boot came closer, closer, closer. But just as the boot was about to crush the fly, something came whooshing through the dark night air. Whoosh! It was an enormous pineapple. Splat! The pineapple hit Little Robber right on the nose. Oh, on the nose. And knocked him out like a boxer. Boing. Got him! Oh, got him! Cried Pineapple Johnson. He had escaped from the gym after Matthew Buzzington unlocked the door. That was my best throw ever! But then the fly looked up. Uh-oh. You may have knocked out Little Robber, but I'm still here, said Big Robber. Big Robber lifted up his newspaper and held it over the fly. What you gonna do now? Big Robber laughed. Your friend ain't got no more pineapples. And now I'm going to squash you once and for all, you stupid little fly. Chapter 10. Elephant! Big Robber's newspaper came closer. Say your prayers, laughed Big Robber. You're about to die. Eh? Said the robber, looking around in fear. What on earth was that? And suddenly, an enormous elephant came around the corner, swinging its long trunk. It galloped towards Big Robber. Ah! Shouted Big Robber. He went racing off down the playground. But a terrified robber is no match for an overexcited elephant. The elephant caught up with Big Robber in no time flat. The last thing that Big Robber saw was the elephant's bottom coming towards him in the rainy night. Squash! Big Robber was squashed into the playground by 2.5 tons of big fat elephant. What on earth was that? Said Pineapple Johnson. I don't believe it, said Matthew Buzzington. At last, he had finally managed to turn himself back into a boy. Is that elephant who I think it is? As they watched, there was a puff of pink smoke, boing, and a very loud popping sound. Even louder than that. The enormous animal was gone, and sitting there in its place was 4-year-old Amanda Buzzington. Elephant! She said. Elephant! That's right, laughed Matthew Buzzington, running over to Amanda. He picked her up in his arms and gave her a great big hug. Elephant! Clever girl, Amanda, clever girl! Chapter 11. Matthew Buzzington is happy. After that, it was easy. The children found a phone box and called the police. And the police came and took the robbers away. Well done, children, said the policewoman as she put handcuffs on the robbers. But how did 3 children like you manage to stop these 2 strong men? Take us away, there's superhero insects and magic elephants and flying pineapples, cried the robbers. Take us away! What on earth are they talking about? Said the policewoman. No idea, said Matthew Buzzington with a grin. I think they must be a bit crazy or something. And that was the last anyone saw of Big Robber and Little Robber. Well, from that day on, everything got a lot better in Matthew Buzzington's life. Pineapple Johnson turned out to be a very nice boy after all. I'm sorry I was so mean to you before, he said, but you see, my family moved to the big city last year. I didn't have any friends. I was so lonely and miserable. I became a bully to hide how unhappy I felt. I've been unhappy in the big city too, said Matthew Buzzington. I haven't got any friends either. Perhaps you and me can be friends. Elephant, said Amanda. And do you know what? Matthew Buzzington and Pineapple Johnson did become the best of friends. They spent lots of time together. They played games together. They watched Who Wants to Win a Million Yogurts on TV together. They even planted pineapples together. But they didn't throw the pineapples at people. They made them into delicious pineapple milkshakes. And they let Amanda join in all their games, even though she was much younger than them and only ever said, Elephant! So everyone was happy and it all worked out for the best. And that is the story of Matthew Buzzington. So remember, next time you were about to squash a fly, or smack it with a newspaper, or zap it with fly spray, just think twice, because it could be Matthew Buzzington. And next time you were about to shoot an elephant, or smack it with a cricket bat, or zap it with elephant spray, just think twice, yeah? It could be Amanda. And next time you were about to throw a pineapple at someone's head, just think twice, because you should only ever throw a pineapple at someone's head if you really have to, like if that person is a robber or something, yeah? Otherwise, the best thing is to make a nice pineapple milkshake and share it with your friends. Wouldn't you agree? That's the end of the story. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you soon. Bye.